Hello everybody. I want to talk to you today about Daphnes. Daphnes are beautiful winter shrubs that have the most gorgeous flowers that smell absolutely delicious. I love Daphnes. They do remind me of my mum in Australia because she has quite a few Daphnes in the garden, and I tried growing them here in my back garden, and for a couple of years I had some really lovely specimens, and then they died. So what I did was I got this plant in front of me, and I'm sorry about the way it's looking, but I'm going to fix that. I bought a really little plant and potted it in a pot, and I have had this in this, well, I've resized the pot so the pot got bigger, and I've had this now, this will be its third year. So year 1 and 2 it did really well, and now that it's in its third year I have to do something about it, and that is I've got to plant it in the garden. So Daphnes, there's kind of two main types of Daphnes. There's this particular specimen, which is the larger shrubbed Daphnes. These are the Odora Daphnes, and this one is Auregimata. I probably said that wrong, but these are the ones that grow really well here in the UK. I am in Lincolnshire, and this is zone 8B. So anywhere else in the world, if you're in zone 8B, this particular one will grow really well for you, and it should grow in the garden. It's frost tolerant to about, I would say, -5, -10. The one that's not so frost tolerant is the one called Daphne Buloa. I think that's how you say it. They are about 0 to -5, but this one does really well in your garden. The other type of Daphne that you can get is this particular specimen here. Now I only got this last year in this small pot, and what I'm going to do is I am going to repot this into the bigger pot that I've got my Odora in, and this is a Transatlantica Daphne. The beauty of this is it's much more squat, much more dwarf, and you can grow these in pots more successfully for the moment anyhow. And the other thing about this one is, so I have 2 lots of flowering with Daphne. This one flowers early in the year, so this kind of comes out January to about March, and this one flowers for much longer. And because this is my first year with it, I haven't experienced leaf drop, and so what I've noticed with this one is this stays a lot more evergreen. Mind you, we haven't had a frost yet this year, and we're at the end of November. This one tends to lose its leaves a little bit more, but I've got a feeling it's because I've got it in a pot. So they're the 2 types of Daphnes. They're quite expensive to buy. And the reason is because they're not really successful to grow from seed. Also, when you take cuttings from these things, they're devils, because a lot of the time the cuttings don't actually root as well. So therefore, if you do want a Daphne, by all means, try to take some cuttings. If you can, that's fantastic. You probably will have to buy a plant, and they are expensive. A lot of them are grafted as well, so being grafted, it makes it more expensive because it's a longer process to get the actual shrub growing, but I can tell you it is definitely well worth growing Daphnes. Love them. All right, now positioning is really important because they do like partial sun and shade. So our back garden is actually northwest facing here in the UK, which means that we don't get the morning sun here. We get the afternoon sun, and kind of after midday it gets very hot in this garden. So the closer to the house, the shadier it is. Last year I had this pot up against the house up against the walls, and it did really, really well because it had a lot of afternoon shade, a lot of morning shade, sorry, and then it got the afternoon sun. So I got all excited and I dug a hole out in the middle of the garden. I'll show you where I dug it because the hole is still there. And I thought to myself, this is probably the sunniest part of the garden. Not a good idea, because I do not want to lose this. I'm going to bring it back to life. It has flower buds all over it. It's ready to flower this year again, thank goodness, even though I haven't treated it very nicely. So I've dug another hole, and this hole is actually in part of the garden that wasn't that far from where I had this pot, and I'll show you how far the distance is. So I'm hoping that this hole in this area of the garden will be much, much better. The most important thing about Daphnes is their root run is quite deep. So that's why to have something like this, especially these Adora Daphnes in pots, they're not going to last for long in a pot. The pot has to be extremely deep. So that's why I'm replanting this, because I know that this is completely pot bound. They like to have deep root run, and they also like to have moisture at the roots. So in the summer, try not to let them dry out too much. The other thing is also that the conditions of the soil is quite important. Something like this Adora, they like it more on the acid side of soil. They can go from neutral to acid. They don't really like alkaline soils. And I've got a problem in my garden because where I'd planted these two shrubs that I had before, they were in a very, very clay area. They got really, really waterlogged, and the clay, and it just completely killed them. The place that I've chosen now for this one, the soil is really good because it's kind of like you'll see, it's kind of like my dumping ground. So whenever I have a hanging basket that's finished or a pot that's finished with soil, I dump the soil in this area. There's not much growing there except a lot of ivy. There's quite a few brambles, and I've got a very nice rose and some anemones there. So that's why I'm putting this one here as well, because I think it's going to like the soil. I'm also going to help it out a little bit, and I'll show you what I'm going to use to help it at the same time. Okay, so this is my specimen here. Poor thing. It doesn't look great, does it? That's the pot that it's in. You can see it's not very big, and I have flower buds coming. Look, lots. That's a flower bud. I've got lots coming, but as you can see, the leaves look terrible. So I need to get this done as soon as possible and in the ground. Okay, now we're going to go for a walk down the garden. I'll show you where I dug a hole. So we're just going to go for a walk down the garden. This is the path that leads all the way down. You can see down there, that's the back gate. And here is a flower border that is a bit kind of rough and ready. I've still got dahlias in here. They have to come out. But like I said, we haven't had a frost, so it hasn't spurred me on. There's my hole. And that is a product that I'm going to help it out with. But that hole is not so good because it is in, and I will show you. I'm walking backwards now, so I hope I don't fall. There. It is in the middle of the garden, and it gets very warm there. So that is gone, and instead I'm going back up towards the house, and I'll show you where I'm going to plant it. See where the trug is? Over there. That's where I'm going to plant it. There's my new hole. The soil is so much better here because, as I said, this is a dumping ground. Above it, we have the wall that goes into the next garden, and we've got this Montana clematis all over it, plus a lot of ivy, and that is where I kind of dump all my soil and all my bits and pieces. So that is where it's going to go. And if I just turn around, there's the hole, and if I turn around, see that post just there? Behind it is where I had the Daphne last year in the pot. So it's not that far away, is it? Okay, let's plant it. All right. So I've just been digging down in this hole just to see what the soil is like down here. And it's quite damp. Yeah, quite damp, but it's quite good actually. It's nice. Not much clay, just a bit damp. All right, so as I mentioned, I have two products that I'm going to use for this poor Daphne. And one is a peat-free compost, and it is a specific compost for shrubs and trees, and it is by a company called Rocket Grow, and it's a new product for them this year actually. It's beautiful, smells absolutely beautiful. Put a bit in the bottom there. I'm going to get this Daphne out and I want to have a look at it. Okay, come on. There you are. Oh, you poor thing. Right, throw that away. Right, first of all, look at the roots. Going round and round and round and round in circles. All right, one word of warning with Daphnes. They do not like their roots disturbed. So that is why I am taking this out of the pot, and I'm not going to even touch that. And I'm not going to disturb the roots at all, because if you do, the roots are actually quite delicate. I'm just going to turn this around because it's around the wrong way. Whoop. There we are. Actually, I might keep turning it. Yeah, roots are very delicate. If you've got a Daphne in the garden and you want to transplant it, just be careful, because you might dig it out of the garden and then you'll have problems, and put it into another place and you will have problems, because they do not like it at all. So I'm not going to backfill with the soil that I've got here. What I'm going to do, and I just want to have a look at this. See if this is grafted. It doesn't look as though it is. Two things. I'm going to refill with my Rocket Grow peat-free compost. And the second thing I'm going to do is, I have this stuff. This is called Root Max. It is actually mycorrhizal product that works. It's a fungus, and it works by attaching itself to the roots of the plant and making things grow a bit stronger. I forgot actually to put in the bottom of the pot. There we are. I don't have much left, so it's all going in. So that together with my compost should set this up nicely. You can feed Daphnes if you want to. You don't have to feed them much actually, because if the soil conditions are good, I don't know what that is. If the soil conditions are good, they won't need a lot of food. So you can put in a little bit of fish blood and bone if you want to, twice a year when you remember. I'm not going to feed this now because I'm putting in this compost and I'm putting in the mycorrhizal stuff. And I'm a little bit late. I could have kind of fed until about October. So let me just do this and then we'll be back. There it is. I tell you, it looks actually quite good there. I don't know why I didn't put it there in the first place. All right, so I've just kind of firmed it down a little bit on the top, not too much because I don't want anything to get waterlogged. And it's in my dump everything garden. There we are. Okay, let's go and repot the other one. All right, let's repot this other beautiful Daphne here. Here it is. I'll give you a closer look. Isn't it lovely? Really, really lovely, this one. And it's doing really well. Probably because it hasn't had a couple of years with me. Oh dear. So I've changed my mind. I was going to use the larger pot for it, but I'm not going to. Instead, there, I'm going to use that one, the next one up. I think it's, well, mainly because of the time of year, because like I said, I've left a little bit late. Next week is December. Here in this bucket, I have a mix. So I've got ericaceous compost, and I just have a little bit of multi-purpose as well. And I'm going to use that and mix the two together. There we are. Take it out. I can see it's pot bound. Definitely. Oh wow, very nice root system. Look. Again, no tickling, no teasing, just put it in. It's a bit of a pity we don't have any tickling and teasing. There we are. That's going to go in like that. I'll just use this now. Okay. There it is. Nice and firmed in, this one. I'm going to leave it a couple of days. I'm not going to water it straight away. Let's put the tag back in. There we are. Yeah, I'm not going to water it straight away. Leave it for a couple of days. I usually do that when I repot things or replant things. It just depends on how dry it is. But I mean, this time of year, it should be fine. And it's left outside anyhow, so we'll probably get rain. And that's that one. Daphnes. I hope you've got a Daphne. If you don't, look, like I said, they are a little bit expensive to buy, but they are so beautiful. You can get them in pots for, you know, at least 18 months, maybe a couple of years, and then you will probably have to put them in the garden, especially the bigger one as well. And I'll probably become a little bit of a collector of Daphnes because I absolutely love them. So there we are. That's it. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you want to keep in touch and keep seeing what I'm putting on YouTube, then subscribe. You'll always get notifications, and be nice if you could give me a thumbs up as well if you like the video. All right, have a lovely day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.